the finale of the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover, after the Anti-Monitor was defeated and all that good stuff, we saw the formation of the Arrowverse Justice League, or Super Friends, depending on what they actually call them going forward. And all of us fans were really freaking out and excited about this moment because we were like, oh my god, we got the Justice League now, and it's super cool. But yes, it's very cool, but there's still some problems here, specifically with the actual team lineup, because first of all, there's some characters on this team that have never been on the Justice League before in the comics or anything, and just really shouldn't be on the Justice League. But then also, some of the characters that are on here are gone, like Ruby Rose's Kate Kane. Ooh, she gone. Melissa Benoist's Kara, Supergirl. Season 6 is the end, so who knows what's happening there. So that is why this whole video is about how to fix the Justice League. What members should be taken off the team, and who should be the replacements, especially for Batwoman and Supergirl, and also just what other characters would it be cool to see on the Justice League team of the Arrowverse going forward. So let's just break it down. Let's start off by going over each of the characters that we know are already on this team. Starting off with, obviously, the Flash, because he's kind of the star of the Arrowverse now that Oliver is dead and all that stuff. So obviously we should keep him on the team. The Flash, I'd say, is probably the most popular series in the Arrowverse, so he's 100% staying on the team. Then the same goes for Superman, just because he is always in the Justice League. He is a classic Justice League member, plus he's one of the biggest DC superheroes, so it just makes sense. Plus now he has his own Arrowverse show, Superman and Lois, so it just makes sense to keep him on the team. Then we of course also have Martian Manhunter. Even though Supergirl is ending, he is also a core Justice League member. Even though he wasn't in the movie, he's been in almost all the Justice League cartoons and everything, so he needs to stay on the team. The same goes for Black Lightning, who isn't traditionally on the Justice League team, but he is enough of his own character and his own hero, and he's so different from all the other characters that he should definitely stay on this team. Then we come to White Canary, aka Sarah Lance, the leader of the Legends. Now, this is one that I'm like, she can stay, but she doesn't necessarily need to. It makes sense that she's on the team because she is the leader of the Legends. She's one of the main heroes in the Arrowverse. But at the same time, she is the leader of the Legends, and she is a time traveler, so she's not going to be around that much on Earth Prime. So it is possible that she could get replaced, but who would be a good replacement for her? Well, how about another Canary with Laurel Lance's Black Canary, especially because Green Arrow and the Canaries looks like it's not really happening now. I mean, it's a great character that really, if they didn't do anything with her, that would be a waste. So why not bring her into the Justice League, especially because White Canary isn't really an actual character in the DC universe. He was just created for these shows. But Black Canary is an actual core Justice League member as well. So I think this would make complete and total sense, and I would love to see this. And honestly, both of them could be on the team as well if they wanted to, but I just feel like Sarah would never be there. Like, the Legends are never in the crossovers anyway. So there's that. Then Supergirl. Obviously, her show is ending in season 6, so it makes sense that she wouldn't be on the team. I don't see any problem with her being on the team, because maybe even though her show ends, she could still reappear in all the crossovers, but that does really depend on how they end her series and how this character ends. Like, does she just continue on to keep protecting National City as Supergirl, or does she go off into space with to go to Argo City, or does she go with Mon-El somewhere? So it really just depends. Now, this is one of those characters that isn't usually on the Justice League team, but at the same time, I give her a pass, and I'm cool with her being on the team because she is one of the core members of the Arrowverse, and she is part of the Trinity. So I think it makes sense if she stayed, but it really depends on how things end with the Supergirl series. Then a complicated one here with Batwoman, because when the Justice League was formed, that was Ruby Rose's Kate Kane that joined the team. So she's gone now. We're not sure if she's actually dead or if she's just missing or something, but we're not seeing her return anytime soon. So she obviously has to be replaced on the Justice League team. And I think the obvious replacement would be the new Batwoman, Javicia Leslie's Ryan Wilder, which would make sense, but at the same time it wouldn't, because this version of Batwoman has never worked with these other heroes before. She's never met them before. She doesn't have a connection or a relationship with any of them, so it just wouldn't make sense. Also, Batwoman, just like Supergirl, is almost never on the Justice League, so I don't think it really made sense for her to be on the team anyway. But a good replacement for her would be, of course, the Dark Knight Batman himself. Now, this is one that's a little less likely to happen because the Arrowverse has very tight, strict rules from Warner Brothers and DC against using big characters like Wonder Woman, like Batman, like Superman, Aquaman. But the past couple of years, they've gotten pretty loose with things like that. Literally, we have Superman in the Arrowverse. He's getting his own series. We saw Bruce Wayne in the season finale of Batwoman. He was played by Warren Christie, so he could easily return as the real Bruce Wayne and become Batman. So that's totally possible here. And I think it just makes sense, especially because, for this Justice League team, it would only have to be for crossovers. So it's not like he would get his own Batman series or anything. He would just be in the crossovers. So I think it would make a lot of sense if Batman joined the Justice League instead of Batwoman. Because that just... I never thought that really made sense. And really the only reason they added her and made her that paragon of courage was really just because she had her own show. Now let's move on to the other candidates that aren't on the Justice League team yet, but definitely could be, and it would make a lot of sense if they joined the team, starting off with the Atom himself. Now, this is another one that there's a few complications because obviously Ray decided to retire as a superhero in the recent season of Legends of Tomorrow. I believe it was, season 5. So he's not the Atom anymore. So he couldn't really return to join the team. But you know who could? Ryan Choi, who was actually set up in Crisis on Infinite Earths. And a lot of us really thought that was kind of stupid and just honestly confusing. Like, why did they include him in that crossover if he wasn't going to be referenced or showing up anywhere else in the Arrowverse? Like, literally, he wasn't mentioned for the rest of the season in any of the other shows. So it really didn't make sense. And I do assume he will probably join the Legends of Tomorrow at some point, hopefully. But if he doesn't, he could totally just become the new Atom and just be there for crossovers as a part of the Justice League. So I think I'd be really cool seeing that. I definitely enjoy seeing that. But another character I would like to see join the Justice League is Vixen. Because she's always a classic Justice League member in the comics, in the cartoons, and all that good stuff. But the problem is that the version of Vixen we saw on Legends of Tomorrow kind of gave up on the superhero life and went back to her village of Zimba. I don't really remember how to pronounce it. But this is where we could bring back the modern version of Vixen. I believe she was on Arrow. So she could totally show up and join the Justice League as well, and I think that'd be really cool, not only to see her back, but to see this version of Vixen teaming up with all these other characters other than just Green Arrow, and she could team up with The Flash and Black Lightning and Martian Manhunter and all that stuff. But speaking of characters from Arrow, of course, we have John Diggle, who was set up in the Arrow series finale to become Green Lantern. I mean, they didn't literally show a Green Lantern ring or anything, but it was pretty obvious. He opened that box, it was he was like, ooh, Green Lantern ring. And now he's Green Lantern. But we don't know when we're going to see him next. He mentioned that he was moving to Metropolis, so we could see him show up on the Superman and Lois show. Or maybe we could just see him appear in future crossovers as Green Lantern, as a member of the Justice League. Now, this is the one that probably I'd want the most, honestly, out of all the characters on this list. Like, I would really love to see him return, especially because he's such a great character, and I'd really hate for his journey to end with Arrow. Like, he had a great run on there, but I'd really love to see his story continue, especially as Green Lantern. Then one that definitely is not joining the team, but I just wanted to throw him in here, that, if I was making this video a couple months ago before everything happened with Hartley Sawyer, the Elongated Man would be a great candidate for the Justice League. He's been a Justice League member in the comics, so it would make complete and total sense for him to join the Justice League, especially since they don't have Plastic Man in the Arrowverse, but they do have Elongated Man. That would make complete sense, but obviously that's not happening now because, everything that happened there. But, maybe they introduce Plastic Man, which I'd totally be up for, and he could join the Justice League, so maybe, we'll see. Then we have Hawkman and Hot Girl, who of course appeared on Legends of Tomorrow Season 1. Now, these are some characters that fans of the Arrowverse don't really care about. Like, a lot of people don't really like that first season of Legends. I honestly really love it. I think I actually like it maybe a little bit more than Season 2. I know pretty much everyone disagrees with that, but I really liked it. But these characters were kind of wasted there. Like, the whole season was pretty much about them, but it didn't really do much with them, honestly. Like, Carter, or Hawkman, he was dead half the season and didn't show up again until the end. Like, that was honestly kind of pointless. And then they just left at the end of the season. So I would really love to see these characters return, as they are core members of the Justice League. Of course, Hot Girl was a member of the Justice League in the classic Justice League Unlimited animated series, so that makes sense. Plus, also, you need some more female members on this team as well. That's another reason Hot Girl would be good for the team, because they just lost 2 female members with Batwoman and Supergirl, if depending on what happens with them. So I think it'd just be a good time for them to return. Especially because, it's not like they're going to be showing up anywhere else anytime soon, and this would only be for crossovers. Plus, if they got recast, I doubt anyone would really care, and you could just explain it, hey, crisis happened, so things are different now. So that could totally be an explanation for that. Then we have another character from Legends of Tomorrow with Firestorm, which he was one of my favorite characters on Legends of Tomorrow, and I was really sad that he left, although I really loved that story with the death of Martin, and then Jax deciding to leave the team. But Jax is still out there, even though he's retired from his superhero life. I believe he still has his Firestorm powers, because they did sever the connection between Martin and Jax so that Jax could actually survive. So I would love to see him return as Firestorm and team up with the Justice League, especially because if they don't call it the Justice League and call it the Super Friends, which is more likely, Firestorm was a big member of the Super Friends team in that classic Super Friends cartoon. So I think it'd be really cool to see him return here as well. Then another one this one is pretty not likely to happen, but I would really, really love for this to happen, and this is Red Tornado. He's one of my favorite DC characters, and that's why I was really disappointed that when he showed up in Supergirl, he was a villain, and then he never showed up again. We did get that kind of cameo from him in the Crisis on Earth X crossover, but he was still a villain in that. I was hoping he'd get rebuilt sometime and become a hero and everything, but that never happened. And with Supergirl ending, it definitely doesn't look like it's going to happen. But he's a character that you could totally bring back for crossovers, especially because if the Justice League or Super Friends are only teaming up for crossovers like one time every year, and they're going to be busy with their own shows, you can't really just leave the Hall of Justice sitting there with nobody controlling it, so they could totally have Red Tornado just be in there moderating everything, making sure everything's under control, and then we would never have to see him except for in crossovers. So I would absolutely love for this to happen, and I really, really hope it does. Plus, hopefully this means he'd get a better design. Like, I'm not complaining. I think his design is honestly pretty cool, but at the same time, it doesn't really look that good. But I think if they just added like that blue cape and collar piece, he'd be looking fire. So I'd absolutely love for this to happen. And then also one here that's pretty not likely to happen as well is Stargirl. It makes sense because the Justice League in the Arrowverse is pretty much formed of characters that have their own Arrowverse shows, and Stargirl is technically part of the Arrowverse now. But with her being on Earth 2 and also already being part of the JSA on that Earth, it just doesn't make sense, because the whole reason the Justice League was formed is because now all the heroes are on one Earth with Earth Prime, but Stargirl being on a different Earth would just complicate things. We will most likely see her crossover with characters like The Flash. That's actually been confirmed that that's going to happen at some point, but I doubt she's actually going to join the team. Then one final one here is the Wonder Twins, which I think is most likely to happen, but only in crossovers, because at the end of that Justice League formation scene, when they were all sitting there at the table and everything, they heard some noises, and it was some monkey noises from none other than Gleek, who had escaped from his cage there. So I'm really surprised that they never addressed that, and I'm hoping they do, because if this is going to be the Super Friends, the Wonder Twins and Gleek were like the main character of the Super Friends, because the whole series was kind of like them getting trained by the Justice League, basically. So I'd really love to see these characters. I love these characters and how silly they are, and they just be really cool to see appear here in the Arrowverse, but also in the Justice League or Super Friends. So, anyways, guys, this is kind of my theory of what will happen to the Arrowverse Justice League / Super Friends in the future. This is kind of how to fix it, what characters to get rid of, and what characters you can add in as replacements. There's a whole bunch of cool characters here that I would love to see join the Arrowverse Justice League. But anyways, guys, let me know down in the comments below, what do you think about my thoughts here? Are there any other characters here that you would love to see join the Justice League that I did not mention? And also stay tuned for later, where I will be posting a video very similar to this, but it'll be actually about the Arrowverse Legion of Doom. So definitely stay tuned for that, guys. But thank you guys so much for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video, and hit the subscribe button so I can keep you up to date on everything that goes on in the DC life.